This morning again, and we are looking at a beautiful week. I'll tell you what an amazing fall week where the leaves are coming down, but the weather is warm and able to get those last minute things before the snow falls all done around the house. And I just love fall weather. I love when it gets a little bit warmer instead of that chill and nip in the air. Sometimes in the fall, you can get that real damp like feel and cold. It just chills. But boy, this week has just been amazing. And I guess it's not going to stop. I mean, we're going to get it all the way through Sunday. And that's kind of a neat thing. Well, in the midst of all of the political nonsense and chaos and confusion going on, I decided to read in 1 Samuel chapter 8 and to just rehearse in my mind what did God do? What did Samuel do as God allowed a king to be established for his people? A king that he did not necessarily want. It wasn't necessarily his choice. In fact, he made it very clear to the people that this king will take your boys as soldiers. He'll take your chariots. He'll take your horses to run his chariots. He's going to take your stuff to feed. He's going to tax you. He's going to do all of these things. And I am perfectly capable, God says, of leading you. But the people were adamant, and they rose up and said, "Give us a king. We want a king." And Samuel was just torn, as he just wanted to do what God wanted him to do, but was in this pressure where people wanted something that was certainly not the will of God. And I in my mind, I kind of feel like we're kind of in the same place. I mean, I feel like what God established in America, what we're seeing in the liberal trends and the secular humanism that's permeated our society, that we're all kind of living in this same reality as Samuel was, where we know what God's will is. We know what God wants as far as a nation and a government structure and what it is that he would establish for us. And yet it seems like there's a group of people in our country that want something distinctly different from a Christian nation, something distinctly different from a republic form of government. And so it's important for us to be able to navigate through, how did Samuel approach that? When all this is going on around him, how did God approach it? And then what did Samuel do? And so when verse number 6, 1 Samuel chapter 6, or chapter 8, verse number 6, "But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, 'Give us a king to judge us.' And Samuel prayed unto the Lord." That's the first important thing. Boy, I tell you, I fear that Christians all over the nation are not as serious about praying. Oh, we might say, "Lord, help our nation." We might say, "Oh, boy, we're in a mess. Lord, you got to do something." We might throw something out there, but I don't believe that Christians are as serious in beseeching the Lord and demonstrating our dependence and saying, "God, what do you want us to do?" It almost seems like a lot of people want government to tell us what we can do, or some type of leader to tell us what to do, when God in his word will help us. And we need to be running to God in his word saying, "Okay, God, here we are. Here's what's going on. I may not like it. I may not agree with it, but it is what it is, and we're in this chaos." And by the way, just so you know, I don't think the election has been decided, and I'm not sure that it's going to be decided very soon. There probably will be a declared winner, but everything will be up for debate one way or the other. But aside from all of that, there's chaos, and we always knew this. Unless they had the corruption under control, which they obviously don't, it was going to go to the courts, and that path through the courts and to the courts and all that was going to be very muddy and very difficult and wrought with all kinds of problems. And so I have no idea what this is going to look like. All I do know is my God has it all under control, and that I can run to my God and his word, and I can find peace, and I can find joy, and I can find purpose, and I can find confidence. I can just simply say, okay, God, in light of what you're doing, what do you want me to do? And Samuel set that as an example for us. The first thing he did when this thing displeased him is he prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. According to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me and served other gods, so do they also unto thee. So I think that the referendum in this election was not against Trump. It seemed like it was against Trump. It was people didn't like his personality. They didn't like his approach. They didn't like his demeanor. They didn't like his words. They didn't like his Twitter. But really, what they really didn't like was his policy. They didn't like an America First policy. They didn't like a attention and reverence to God, to his church, to his word, to his program. The implementation of back to a Christian nation type of approach. That's really what this referendum in this election is against. It is against a man who was bringing America back to its framers' foundational principles, and a God who had established it, and a reverence for that God, and a plea to that God. And, it was really the policies driving us back to those Christian nation principles that they didn't have any tolerance for. And it was the same thing that was true back in the children of Israel when they said, you know what? We want a king. We want somebody who's going to help us be like every other nation. Makes no sense to me why we have people in our country that would want America with all of its superiorness, and why people flood from all over the world to try to get here. Why in the world would we want to be like every other nation? I don't get that. But they obviously do. And they want us to look like them. They want us to act like them. And they want us to only have what they have. And it is what it is. But it's similar to me as what was going on here. And God says, Samuel, don't take it personal. And if I was talking to President Trump right now, I'd say, hey, listen, don't take all this personal. It's not necessarily against you personally. Some people would like it to be that way, and some people probably have been rubbed the wrong way by him. But ultimately, this big push to remove him from office is because of his Judeo-Christian policies, that back to what our framers intended in our Constitution, that he has taken us back to. And so I think we can find comfort in realizing this isn't the first time that this has happened in the world. Really, it's happened over and over again, but here it happened in Israel. And Samuel comforted himself in talking to the Lord, and then listening to the Lord talk to him and say, listen, this is a referendum against me, Samuel, not against you. And then he goes on to explain all of the things that a king will do and take from them. And I wouldn't even want to speculate, should a Biden-Harris become the leaders in the executive office, what all they would take from us. But then it says that in verse number 18, and ye shall cry out in that day. In other words, when all of this stuff happens, because of your king, which ye shall have chosen, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, nay, but we will have a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us and go out before us and fight our battles. And Samuel heard all the words of the people. And here's what I want you to get. All this nonsense going on, all of the deception, all of the misleading information, the marketing arm of the left agenda, the mainstream media. When they heard all of this stuff, and Samuel heard it, here's what he did. And he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord. He took them to the Lord. And he's like, okay, Lord, here's what they want. Here's what they're going to do. And you're going to allow them. You're going to allow them to have to deal with the fruit of their decisions. You know what? That may be exactly where God is going to place America. He is going to give the left agenda an opportunity to experience what they've always theorized would be best, and then have to deal with the consequence of realizing it wasn't best. But on the other side, I think God may be allowing Christians who may have with their mouth said the right things, but with their actions have lived like secular humanists. They've lived for the here and now. They've lived for what they can get out of this life. And God may be saying, you know what? You think that's better? Well, all right. I'll let you have that. It's going to hurt. And there are a lot of consequences, but I'll let you have that. If you'd have followed me, if you'd obeyed me, if you'd have made me and my word a priority and did life the way I designed it, you'd have been so much better, so much more fulfilled, so much more prosperous. But you know what? If you want that way, I'll let you go. And I think the admonition this morning is not necessarily to America. The admonition is to Christians. Will we make God our priority? Will we take the things that concern us and rehearse them in the ears of the Lord? And here's verse 22. And the Lord said to Samuel, hearken unto their voice and make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, go ye every man unto his city. You know, God is ultimately in charge. I'm thankful. I'm thankful I don't have to solve America. I just have to be faithful with what God has asked me to do each and every day. And that's enough. And I hope it's enough for you. I hope you go out and enjoy a great weekend. Thank you for joining me this morning. May God bless you. And we'll see you for God and Country Sunday on this coming Sunday, as well as I hope that you're able to spend some family time. May God bless you.